Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. We are at the end of another work week, and believe it or not, for those that have been with us on this call from the start, this is actually our 34th daily call today. We started these back on March 24th, and we've been here every workday since then, and we're going to continue to be here every workday as long as the immediate crisis is in place. So I know some of you have been joining us pretty much every day. Some of you may be on the call for the first time today. So whatever your situation, we're very grateful to have you. We've got a lot of things to cover today for this Friday. We do have two speakers. We're going to get to hear from Nino from the Bishop International Airport here in a second. Then we're also going to get to hear from Carrie Selleck from Hulk, who has a technology solution that can be very helpful to helping companies with their supply chains as they work to navigate through this crisis. But we're going to get started with our friend from Bishop International Airport. And I just want to start by saying I think it is, and I'm probably a little biased in this, I really believe it's one of the greatest airports in America. We are very, very lucky to have this airport in our region, being so close by to Shiawassee County. I personally fly out of there a lot for personal and for work. I know a lot of you do as well. I know there's a lot of business travel that goes in and out of there. So easy to use, easy to park, easy to get in and out of, easy to connect anywhere in the country or the world. So huge regional transportation asset for us. So we have absolutely every interest in seeing the airport do well. So very grateful to get an update today on how they're doing. But also, we did ask our stakeholders to fill out a survey. You probably saw that in an email earlier this week. We had a really good response rate for that. And so I think Nino's going to share some information from that as well. So with that, we'll get going. Nino, if you want to hit *6 on your phone, and then the floor is yours.
Okay, Justin, can you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Okay, good morning, and thank you for having me on this call. You know, it's great to be able to talk with the community and in the county on things that's going on and what we're doing at Bishop. And thank you for providing us that survey information. That is critical for us to use that information to help us in this next phase as we start the travel season and hopefully, people start coming back. Just for FYI, everything that we're doing at Bishop, I mean, I've talked about it before. It's the cleaning, the stepped up cleaning, the temperature checking at the door. I mean, we're going to continue that. I mean, that's got a lot of good response from both the public, the passengers, and the airlines, and they're really excited about that. And the airport is the cleanest it's ever been. We do special cleaning once a week with another company that comes in and does this fogging and stuff for the areas. And the airlines also, with our partners, they've all stepped up, ramping up their cleaning and putting procedures in place. So really, flying today, I mean, the airport's as clean as it's ever been. The airplanes the same way, and it's all up to the consumer and the public and to see when it's safe for them to fly. But luckily, all of our airlines are still flying their destinations. Just they've cut some frequencies, but we've been trickling back for the last probably week and a half. We've been from 100 to up to yesterday, 316 passengers that came through here. So the public's starting to come back. We anticipate that the leisure traffic will be earlier to come back, and we'll see the leisure destinations start to fly more than the business traveler. So that's one thing that we're really excited about, having a Legion here and in the destinations that they have in the Florida and for leisure traffic. We hope we start to ramp that up a little bit. And one thing Allegiant started doing yesterday, all passengers get a packet with a mask, gloves, and disinfectant wipes. Now, they don't require you wear a mask. Most of the airlines today are requiring them, but it depends on the airline, so you have to check with them. As far as the facility here, we encourage all our staff wear masks in the terminal. We encourage everyone else to wear them, and just following the order from the governor and the CDC. But we're really looking forward to the next quarter. We think we're going to start getting some leisure traffic back, and we have some exciting things going on. Nashville is launching June 5th. We were kind of wary about that they were going to cancel, but the bookings have been so strong that that launch is still going. So we anticipate we'll have some kind of virtual gate celebration for that. But we're really happy about the next quarter and going into the last quarter of this year. We think we're gonna do pretty good. If you have any questions or you want me to cover anything else?
Yeah, I don't. Do you want to touch on the survey results on what we found from that?
Yeah, the big categories will you be planning a vacation anytime soon or later? I mean, more so, majority of them that we got back, people are still looking to plan a vacation. A lot of them, in another area about the cancellation, there were a lot of canceled flights, and for rescheduling, that was kind of in the middle. For flying domestic or international, domestic was the high one. Everyone's more safe flying domestic now. As far as vacation and or going on any trips soon, it looks like the summer got the most responses. Fall, not too many. Winter had some, and some are saying that they won't fly until 21. Also, as far as airports, larger airports, smaller airports, the consumer that came back, they feel more safe at the smaller airports. But overall, it was pretty encouraging that people were looking at starting to fly again and plan vacations for later in the summer. So this is very important for us. And also another one for things that you would like to see is signage in the airport about the COVID-19 and best practices, stuff like that. And that's what we're working on now. We want to get signage up in the airport and the social distancing, getting some footprints on the floor or something that shows, you have to stay within 6 feet, and working with the airlines to make sure when they queue for whenever you come up to the ticket counter, the queue lines, that they're easily accessible to be 6 feet apart and so forth. That's all in the works now, and that's really a quick summary. Pat, are you on? If you have any other information, *6, Pat.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe not. But yeah, that's a summary of what we got on the survey, and that's critical for us to be able to use that, and we're going to be using it in our marketing tools, and also it helps us. It sort of falls in line with what we're seeing with the leisure traffic, because of the numbers that are coming up now are a lot of the Allegiant Florida flights. So that falls right in line with what we're seeing.
Well, and I think, what's interesting too, and you don't have a frame of reference on this, but City of Owasso Main Street did a sort of a customer survey as well very recently. We actually, a week ago today, we had the Owasso Main Street director on the call who shared the survey results. And I know for the listeners on the call today, they don't have a copy of the results, and we could get you the information, but it kind of fell in line with what we saw as far as consumer behavior for that survey in terms of getting back out into the world, going places, in downtowns, going to events, things inside, things outside. And what does that mean? I think and this is anecdotal, but it strikes me as about roughly a third of people are still at a place where they don't feel comfortable in wanting to get out, to travel, to go into places and things like that. And that is absolutely understandable, and that's their prerogative. They want to feel safe. Maybe they're waiting for more testing, a vaccine, things like that. So I think there's about a third that are like that. And then the other 2/3 would be probably into, we are willing to do something. Some people, want to do anything. Most people are willing to do something if there are significant safety precautions in place. So that's just based on the reading of these survey results and the one from Owasso. That's kind of the feel that I have, at least from Shiawassee County stakeholders. So I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that, but I just wanted to share that with the group. So does anyone have any comments or questions for Nino? If you do, please hit *6 and go ahead and ask. Any comments or questions?
Nino, how's the airport doing financially? And tell us about the grant.
Yes, thank you. Financially, we've taken a pretty significant hit. One thing, we were lucky going into the first quarter, all the way up till March, we were up 51% in traffic and enplanements, which was phenomenal. That's the first time the airport has seen that kind of growth in a decade. And we were really on a roll. So that big gain helped us a little bit going into this COVID-19 stuff and this crisis. But we're down about 80% right now. We're starting to trickle back. We did receive a grant from the CARES Act for $7.4 million. And we're using that money to offset our revenue losses. And also, we got some debt service payments from building the terminal coming up, about $2.4 million. So in order to keep the operation going, keeping people working, we're going to be using that monies to help us sustain our operations and pay our debt service. But we're really, really grateful to our congressmen, both bipartisan, to support, the CARES Act and getting those monies for airports to have. That's very critical.
Good question. Any other comments or questions? It's *6 on your phone. Nino, I have one more. What can we do? Obviously, we're next door, Shiawassee. What can we do to help you, support you? Obviously, Fly is the number one through Bishop. But is there anything we can do, or how can, maybe along with that, how can people from here get plugged in on updates at the airport and what's going on?
Yeah, it's a good question, Justin. We have the COVID-19 page on the website, and we're also doing Facebook Lives periodically, some daily, on what's going on in the airport. We're going to be doing some interviews coming up. Pat, you there? Oh, I thought that was Pat. But we're doing some interviews coming up next week at the gate on some Allegiant flights, and we're going to be talking with passengers. But stay tuned on the website and Facebook, because we're going to really start ramping up and getting the word out. And the bottom line, it's up to the consumer and the passenger and how safe they feel to fly. But we have an obligation to let them know, everything that we're doing and what the airlines are doing. So, stay on look at the website, and we're going to try to get the word out. That's part of our next phase of getting through this is ramping up a big marketing effort, so everyone knows what's going on, what flights are open, what's going on at the airport, and what we're doing to enhance the safety and security for our passengers.
Great. Well, and please have Pat Corfman, your marketing director, please have her share with me any information via email, and I'll pass that out to the entire list.
Yes, we sure will.
Oh, there she is.
Little did I know I had a double mute on. I had my own mute plus your *6, so sorry about that.
Go ahead,
Thank
Pat.
you so much for doing this for us. We really appreciate it. It was really enlightening to have this survey and all the information that you guys provided. So your partnership is absolutely priceless.
Well, we value, as I said at the start of the call, we value having you there. I mean, to have an incredible international airport, depending on where you're in the county, you might only be about 10 minutes away from the airport if you're on the eastern side of Shiawassee County. So we very much are grateful to have you there. And by the way, I do want to say one last thing. We've had our I-69 International Trade Corridor partnership, which many of you are aware of, for many years now. And the genesis of that really was a partnership with the airport, and having Bishop at the heart of it, along with the I-69 highway, was very important. So we've seen a lot of great collaboration, successes. We have our meetings when we can have meetings. We have them at the boardroom in the airport. So it's not just a benefit to Shiawassee County, it's a benefit for our regional efforts as well. So very, very much appreciate the partnership.
Hey, Justin?
Likewise.
Yeah, go.
Laura Darline again today.
Yeah, go ahead, Laura. Yeah.
I just have a couple questions regarding cargo and freight, realizing that Bishop is a FedEx hub, but assuming there's other cargo, commercial cargo freight that comes through there, what kind of changes in practices have you seen? Does that create any kind of slowdown in the release and movement of freight? I imagine FedEx is managing their own process, but in terms of the rest of cargo that might move through there, and do you anticipate that this whole practice of different, easing into moving freight, handling, sanitizing, and so forth, is that going to slow down or change the way freight moves through there?
Pat, I'll go first. That's a really, really good question. One thing about cargo and freight, that's the industry that is really thriving right now. And just talking, because we're always in constant conversation with other cargo opportunities, and like Justin said, the location of this airport and the transportation network around it is phenomenal, and we know that, and we need to get some more business in here. Amazon, just in discussions with them, just overall, they've hired over 100,000 employees within the last 3-4 months. They can't keep up. And as far as, the cleaning and all that, they all have their own policies. But cargo is really going to be the next thing that's going to really, I think it's going to be a boom. And we're working real hard trying to talk to as many cargo facilities as we can to try to get more business in here.
Okay, thanks. And do you feel there's any negative change in any way that companies need to be aware of as they might move commercial freight, not just small package, but maybe some other bigger type things that might come through there and maybe even be a transition point for some flights?
No, we don't. Matter of fact, we reached out to the state and we offered, we have a few hangars here that we can offer for distribution points if they want to use our facility to use it more like the stockpile and bring cargo in here and medical supplies. We would help them out and set them up for like a distribution center. So we've been talking with the state and we offered that, and they've come out and they've been taking a look at things. So we're looking at every opportunity we can.
Really good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Laura. Great question. Any other comments or questions? Hit *6 on your phone. Okay, well, Nino and Pat, thank you both for joining today. Once again, appreciate the collaboration, and it sounds like if people want to get updated on what's going on at the airport, check out your Facebook page and your website.
That would be perfect.
Yes, thanks. I know that'd be perfect, Justin. And thank you again for this outreach. We love to get out into the community and spread the word as much as we can. And when I first came here, the first thing I said, man, this is a regional jewel. to have, like you mentioned before, to have a regional airport that's accessible and just so close to everything in the transportation network. We're really excited about moving forward, but we're all going to get through this together.
Yes, we are. Well, thank you, guys. Okay, well, we will now move on to the next part of our agenda, and I'd like to introduce my friend Carrie from Hulft. Hulft is probably a new name for a lot of you, but Carrie, you'll know, used to be with Wasso Schools, Corona Schools, and I won't give too much of your bio away, Carrie. I'll let you do that. But Hulft is a very interesting technology company that has some great tools that we believe could be very helpful during this time as it relates to supply chains. And once again, I won't give it away too much, but as you all know, we're trying to highlight a company a day that can provide solutions, either products or services, that can help companies through this crisis. And I think they have a technology solution that could do just that for some folks on the call. So with that, Carrie, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Justin, and it's great to be here this morning. I just want to say to Nino and Pat, I am an avid supporter of Bishop Airport and a frequent flyer, and feel so fortunate to have that airport in the back of our neighborhood here. So we wish you all the best as well.
Thank you so much. We wish you the best too.
Thank you. Hulft is a startup software company. We have our large, I would say, owner investor is a Japanese company, and they saturated the market in Japan with integrative solutions for most of the major automobile companies. And 2 years ago decided that they really wanted to make inroads in North America. So the largest, I would say, lighthouse satellite office is located in Royal Oak, and we also have an affiliate in Owasso. And a lot of our work is centered around manufacturing and automobile, of course, but any manufacturing or company that produces goods. We're not limited to that, but that is where our largest partnerships have occurred from the beginning. In a nutshell, we connect any information from any point system, from any platform, and connect that to anywhere you want that information to go. I think the beauty of our software is that it is relatively quick and easy for our engineers to bring disparate systems of information to any point that you want them to be in your company. And it's been a pleasure for me to work with the company. I've been with the company now for a year, but for years I wondered how could my skills in public school administration and teaching transfer after I retired to a different profession. And I am the most non-technologically savvy person alive, but they hired me so that I could be somewhat of a translator or an explainer of difficult concepts to people who are non-technical by nature. I do a lot of presenting to leaders in companies and discuss what are the processes in their companies that they would like to improve efficiencies and productivity with. And I take the companies through a process of walking them through literally drawing and mapping out from the point of an order coming in to the point of that product leaving that company, from human resources to every facet of the company, as to how automation and how automating data can really improve every aspect of an organization. So with that being said, at the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis, our CEO said to all of the employees with Hulst, I have about 30 of us in North America, and said, look, you're a startup. We support you. We don't want you to worry about your employment right now. What we want you to do is put your expert heads together and come up with a solution for local businesses and our local neighbors who are going to obviously be struggling during this time. So for the last month or so, our engineers have tried to answer the question, if the public is going to be hesitant to go into local businesses, local restaurants, etc., how can we help those businesses survive by providing a near their experience? We also looked at forecasting with the likelihood that most small businesses will be moving towards some kind of e-commerce platform and offer a blend of services that are what we all love, including myself, of walking in the door and having that engagement with a real person, touching the materials, etc. So we have come up with, I think, a very cool application that it is called VIBE, V-I-B-E, for Virtual Interactive Business Experiences. And it basically it allows the entire process of looking for an item, talking with a sales associate, and then making a point of sale transparent. So I'm going to use the example of, I'm going to use a restaurant example because we are hearing many restaurants interested in this. You would go to any of the access points that most restaurants are providing, whether it's through the internet, whether it's through Facebook, and upon making that click, you would be instantly inside the actual restaurant. At the entrance, you would be able to ask for your waitress, that maybe you have a favorite waitress or wait staff, and talk to them about what you want for your order. This would be an opportunity for you to say, hey, what is the special today? Could you hold the garlic? Would you, ease up on the salt a little bit? And at the time of your order being placed, you then have a virtual camera into the kitchen where you are able to see, biometrics of the chef, the gloves being worn, the conditions of your food being prepared, and you hear the music of the restaurant. You are virtually there as much as possible. And then you see your food moving through the process to the point where it's being packaged for delivery or for pickup by the customer. Our restaurant associates who have been helping us create this app have said that the packaging portion of the process is very important, and they are looking at ways to ensure to the customer that packaging is, whether they put a seal on the fold-over bag, and customers then know that if that seal is damaged or broken, that the security and safety of that product or that food might have been compromised. But so it then allows the app to connect to any of the many point of sale systems that businesses have, and then also the delivery of those products through a Grubhub, etc. The same concept can be applied to small businesses, your local shoe store, your local hardware store, where you want to talk to somebody about the paint you need. Do I need latex-based paint? Do I need oil-based paint? And you want to talk to your favorite local hardware paint expert, and that expert at the hardware store can then literally be walking down the aisles with you, virtually seeing what is there, and engaging in that conversation. You watch the whole point of sale taking place. And this is where, for small businesses, the competition with Amazon becomes critical, because if this system works as we predict it will, a delivery system that could be underway internally in regions and in small cities would then allow that product to be delivered that very same afternoon to somebody's door who wants to paint their basement. So we're very excited about this opportunity. We have some partners who have agreed to work with us as pilots, and we are anticipating our first rollout with a pretty viable solution for someone to use in a first run, if you will, is set for 2 weeks from today. So I'm really excited about the app, and I'd love to have some of our Shiawassee County businesses be a beneficiary to the work that we've been doing.
Very interesting, Carrie. What can folks do if they want to learn more? Should they visit a website? Should they contact you directly? How would they go about doing that?
They can contact me directly at my Hulst email. I can send further information on the application. I know you talked about the supply chain assistance we are working on. We are really looking at also ways to develop an app that can assist in some of the breakdown of the supply chain issues that we're hearing of, and how can we help the farm to meat processor to, with our big meat processing plants having issues right now, what are the levels of communication that are occurring, and how does that data come into play, and how could we help channel that information to a repository that will allow trucks to be diverted because something is closed here, or the local meat processing plant is full to capacity, but you have animals that are ready to go. So we've been doing a lot of research over the last couple of weeks about how we can assist in the supply chain process, and so be on the lookout for that to come. But we're very excited about the Vibe app, and I can provide anybody with information as they may need, and it would be a pleasure to talk with anyone about this.
And we will definitely, Carrie, you send that to me. I'll send it out to not only everybody on the call, but everybody else on our contact list. Does anyone have any? Oh, go ahead, Carrie.
No, thank you. I just am appreciative of this opportunity.
No, you're welcome. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Carrie right now? If you do, hit *6 on your phone. Okay, well, we will, Carrie, you send that on to me, and we will get that out and encourage folks to give you a call or shoot you an email.
Thank you very much. I'm from Owasso, from Shiawassee County, and it's really fun to try to impact the community from a different perspective. Education has always been the niche that I've held, and there's such a relationship between all of the interconnected things in our community, and so this is a fun and exciting way to begin a new chapter.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Carrie. Appreciate your time today.
You.
Okay, well, got a few other things I want to touch on real quick. I did receive actually a couple of requests from manufacturing companies on this. So as you probably are all aware, the governor had a new order yesterday. The biggest change that was on there was that manufacturing is able to restart as of next Monday. And so I've gotten a few questions from local manufacturers. Well, what does that mean? What do I have to do to safely reopen? And as we've been talking here for the last week or two, I think companies have been they've been thinking about it. They're trying to prepare. It's very much top of mind. But we do have some indication now, and I'm actually looking at the governor's order. There are a number of different very specified items that manufacturing facilities have to do. So it's such a big list. There's actually I won't even list them all out. There's probably a couple dozen, maybe, definitely at least 15 or 20. So I won't list them all out, but I've got the language here. I'm going to send that out in an email to everybody so that you have that information and can be prepared to reopen if you're a manufacturer. For the rest, it sounds like the stay-at-home order has been extended to the end of the month. And then if you're not in manufacturing and you're not operating, you will still not be able to operate until the end of the month. So for those of you who saw my social media post last night, it's obviously mixed emotions. I am grateful that our manufacturing friends are able to reopen. Obviously, I feel for my other friends that are not able to reopen yet. So a couple of other things. As it relates to funding, I was talking with our team this morning. I feel like as it comes to the federal stimulus programs, the PPP and the EIDL, we're kind of transitioning now from, trying to get the money. Most of you either have the money or you've been approved or you're just about there. Now people are starting to look at the loan forgiveness portion, making sure that you got the dollars now. You don't want it to stay as a loan. You want to turn that into a grant. So I feel like that's where we, as the SEDP team, we want to be able to give you as much information in conjunction with your lender to make sure you can get that loan forgiven. So we've done a couple things. We've sent out a spreadsheet that's a good tracking model for your numbers to make sure you're in good shape. We've sent out a video a couple weeks ago. But I also sent out yesterday, there is a webinar coming up from the Detroit Regional Chamber on Monday morning at 11 that's going to talk about the loan forgiveness and how to do it. So I see that being the next phase. So we're going to continue to share information as we get it on the forgiveness piece. And definitely, if you have any questions, please be in touch with us, but really also be in touch with your lender on that. Another thing that I sent out yesterday that I think is very relevant as we go forward, as companies look to hire and not just bring people back, but actually try to hire new people, it's going to be challenging because, at least with the manufacturing order, it doesn't look like you're supposed to be bringing in non-workers. At least that's how I kind of interpreted it. So the issue of remote hiring is going to be more impactful. And I know I've actually talked to one or two businesses that have done that already. They've either gotten on a phone or they've gotten on a Zoom call and tried to interview remotely. So there's actually a webinar being put on early next week, I believe Tuesday, by Lansing Community College. So you should have got an email on that as well. So once again, definitely want to try to provide as much resource in that area as we can. EDA money. I talked about this yesterday. Very excited to let you know Lee Sherry with the EDA, that is the Economic Development Administration, that is part of the federal U.S. Department of Commerce. They have gotten $1.5 billion allocation, and they have a funding window that is now open. Lee is going to be on our call Monday morning to talk about what that's all about. But in a nutshell, it is grant dollars. It's not for private business. It's for local units of government and for nonprofits, but it's specifically focused on ways to stimulate community and economic development. So, for example, building public infrastructure is one of the grant usages. Different types of community and economic development planning. There's a number of other items that are in there, but it's really meant to be more for the community. But what's really interesting is for those stricken with the disaster, and pretty much everywhere now has been hit by this, they're grant program can cover up to 100% of those costs. So that would be huge if we're able to apply for some dollars here in Shiawassee County that don't require a local match. So Lee is going to be on the call Monday and is going to talk about that. So very interested to see what he has to say in that regard. And then real quick, I think that's most of the big stuff here. We do want to obviously always encourage if anyone has any positions that they're trying to fill, please let us know. We want to promote that. I do want to call on Jody real quick too. Jody, there is a webinar coming up today. I wanted to note that. Go ahead, Jody.
Yes, I believe you sent the information for registering out yesterday. It is covering reopening your retail business. So that will be at 2:00. It's through the SBDC. And if you register ahead of time, they will send you, after the event, they'll send you a recording and then links to any of the items that they talk about, so you can easily access anything that they discuss on the call. Very helpful calls. I've been on numerous SBDC webinars since this all started, and they're very informative. So if you're looking at reopening a retail business, it's definitely one you're going to want to register for.
Very good. Anything else, Jody?
I'll cover really quickly. I did yesterday participate in a webinar through the U.S. Chamber Foundation. They have a Path Forward series where they're talking about the navigating the return to work. And there were some speakers. There was a reporter from China, the chairman of the World Medical Association, and a global tech investor. And basically, they just talked about what we can learn from other countries as we are reopening, because some countries are obviously reopening a little bit sooner than us. They stressed that we won't be back to normal right away. It's going to take a little bit of time. Obviously, we've talked about that with the surveys that have been done. Some people are going to be comfortable getting back to things more quickly than others. They cautioned against getting back to things too quickly. You know, we need to open a little bit at a time to reassess situations in between. But one of the things they really touched on, and Justin mentioned this with obviously hiring by using a webinar or WebEx, Zoom, anything like that. Obviously, Carrie talking about the apps that HALT is putting together. This pandemic has actually caused technology, or the use of technology, to speed up significantly. Things that would have taken a long time to catch on have had to be implemented very quickly through this. So they're seeing in other parts of the world where they are kind of opening up quicker or sooner, that all of the technology areas like webinars, online sales, things that did speed up are continuing, because obviously things are not opening as quickly as some would like. Obviously, we have the manufacturers opening, but in other areas, we're going to really depend on this technology to keep us going. And they did point out that, you know, people who were not using technology at all are very comfortable with it now. We've been doing this for weeks. And they're also, I thought this was kind of an interesting way to look at it. The last point I'll make is that the younger generation who's used to technology and really doing things all through technology are seeing the value of face-to-face experiences more. So they think that that might actually change the way a younger generation looks at doing business and things that will take place in the future, which I thought was kind of an interesting point.
That is interesting, Jody. And, you know, I think you're right. This cuts both ways. And I think everyone on the call probably knows this. I mean, yes, are there going to be changes where technology is going to take over more and there'll be less face-to-face and less travel and all that? Probably. But I also sense, you know, the isolation of 2 months, people want face-to-face interaction. They want to see people. I mean, we're human beings. You know, we want to be able to talk to one another and look people in the eye and shake hands and all that. And, you know, obviously we have to get through the health part of this and be safe, but I'm hoping in some way this may bring people more closely together and more desiring of wanting to interact. So
I agree.
So that's a, yep. All right. Well, thank you, Jody. Well, we're getting a little bit late in our call again, and we're at the end of the week. Does anyone have any final comments or questions for the week? Hit *6 on your phone. *6. Anybody have anything to wrap up for the week? Okay, well, as always, thank you for joining us. We will be back on Monday morning. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.